Yesterday, I gave a series of short lectures as part of a career awareness days to a whole lot of 10th graders. Like, whole lots. And I did it Monday too, so Monday and Tuesday both. And after the first session yesterday morning, of the 6 sessions that I did, a girl came up to me and said, excuse me, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, sure, yeah. Like, I got kind of cut off, time ran out, and so I didn't get to do things. So I said, if you have any questions, come grab me, grab my card, whatever. She came up and she said, and I quote, I don't think you're a very good teacher. And immediately, like every defensive, like, danger, danger, like hackles go up. And I had to like really fight, like, what are you talking about, woman? But I didn't, and I was like, I'm sorry, what do you mean? She said, well, and she shared an example of why she thought I wasn't a very good teacher. And it was something that I said that really upset her. And that made me, and like, it's because she totally misunderstood what I said. And I think I shared one of these earlier where I talked about somebody like taking the opposite of what I said, as what I said, which isn't what I said. But anyway, yeah, she had what I said all backwards, and I tried to explain what it was that I actually said, but she had already made up her mind, and it didn't matter what it was that I would say now. She'd already decided I was a bad teacher, and I didn't have anything of value to add. And that's a really sad thing. And so, with that, there are 2 quotes from leaders of the LDS Church I'd like to share, and then I'm going to go back into Paul and the various epistles. So the first quote from Dallin H. Oaks is, oddly, that he shares this in the Dating versus Hanging Out conference talk, which was a long time ago. A long time ago. Way back in 2006. And it's the story of a guy who comes up to him just sobbing after a sermon that he gave because the guy realized that he was going to hell because of the commandment, thou shalt not kill. And, yeah. And the guy had been in Korea or Vietnam or somewhere and had shot and killed a lot of Koreans with a machine gun and knew he was going to hell because the Lord said, thou shalt not kill. And so therefore he was murdered and all this stuff. And Elder Oaks was like, hang on now. First off, legally, there's no case there. And second off, as a general authority, I have the responsibility to preach general principles. When I do, I don't try to define all exceptions. There are exceptions to some rules, right? But don't ask me to give an opinion on your exception. I only teach the general rules. That's the first quote. Second quote, Elder Harold B. Lee, before he was President Harold B. Lee. Now, you as teachers are not being sent out to teach old doctrines. You are to teach, you're not sent out to teach new doctrine. You are to teach the old doctrines, not so plain that they can just understand, but you must teach the doctrines of the church so plainly that no one can misunderstand. And this goes into the differences between Paul's epistles and the other epistles in the New Testament. Paul has 2 types of epistles. He has specific place epistles and he has pastoral epistles. The specific place and people epistles are more like what we would call in the LDS contexts a stake conference talk. He's sending them to specific people with specific instructions for their specific situations and contexts. Can you tell it's been a long week? He's not giving general principles for the whole church. Like maybe he should have. Paul is very rare, even though Paul is an apostle, he's really not a general authority in the way that we look at it today. He is a specific authority. He has specific jurisdictions that he works in. And a lot of times in his epistles, he points out that some things that he says aren't commandments. He points out that this is my opinion, this is what I think, this is what I would recommend, but it's not, by way of commandment. Contrasting this, Peter, John, and Jude are general epistles. They're not to the Colossians. They're not pastoral epistles. I should have said the pastoral epistles are the ones that Paul sends to specific pastors, specific church leaders. This is Philemon, Titus, Timothy. But Peter, John, and Jude are general epistles. They're to the entire church, not to a subset. And they teach general principles and general doctrine. They teach more about history and things. So they don't get into the nitty-gritty specifics as much as Paul does, because they're not trying to be specific. They're trying to be general, and they're trying to teach these important principles in a way that people can understand. Paul sometimes gets so specific that he loses people, or he teaches things that are to be applied in a certain context where people can understand that context, and people who don't get that context fail to understand it, right? And so that's why the general epistles, I think, in many ways are better. They might not be so eloquent or so pretty or as long, but they teach fantastic doctrines. And they teach the general, important, soteriologically significant doctrines. So with that, this is what I said. I was speaking to them about careers that are available in education. And as part of it, I was asked to tell them, how much do you make? And so we were going through, starting salaries for teachers and various things. And I got to one point where I said, and ladies, like, if you become a teacher, you will probably make less than the male teachers do. And I said, and do you know why? And this one girl who was, she'd paid attention. We talked earlier about supply and demand. She says, because there's fewer male teachers. Yes, as part of it. They do try to attract more male teachers. More male teachers are coaches, various things. Yes, that's part of it. But there also is a part that America's kind of sexist, right? And and here's the great thing. Ladies, if you become a teacher, you can teach the next generation and change the culture so that the next generation won't be so sexist, and you can maybe get paid more. And guys, I wouldn't recommend this, but if you really wanted to, you can become a teacher and fight to keep the culture the same so that you can get paid more. But you shouldn't do that. That's what I said. That's how I said it. And this girl, this young woman, she, for whatever reason, took it seriously. I put qualifiers on both sides. That, guys, you shouldn't do this. You can do it if you want to. But I wouldn't recommend that you do it. But because I said that thing that she disagreed with, the thing that I disagree with too, and that I made really clear I disagreed with, she was closed off and she misunderstood. And it's not entirely her fault, right? This is something that I've been feeling bad about for the last 3 days. Or the last 2 days. Maybe I shouldn't feel as bad as I do, but I do feel bad that I represented myself poorly, that I represented the institution that I represent poorly, and that I offended this kid. Because as I also tell them, and they're like, I do what I do because I love helping people, and I love helping them to find solutions. I love helping them to find ways to change their life, and by changing their life, to go on and change other people and change the world. And so the thought that this girl, the fact that I phrased it in a way that it was not so clear that she could understood, that I did teach it so plainly that she could not misunderstand, really does weigh down on me. And so, for those of you out there who think I don't have snark, I can totally be snarky, because I can take shots like that, right? That the guys can do this. Again, I'd like to point out that I wouldn't recommend that. I wish I could remember the other things that I said, but I need an audience to be snarky. Apparently that's the thing. So, friend, I will flame the crap out of you next time you're here in person. But over this, I'm just going to say, I love you all. Have a good day.